couple of turnaround Tuesday potential candidates. So I've been pointing towards this Lime in NASDAQ. And on the weekly, it looks like we kissed the lime. Anyone ever kiss a lime or a lemon? How about a prune? Like your grandma. You ever kiss a prune? Prune? Who eats prunes? They're very good for you. Figs and prunes. Anyway, I won't get into, elimination stuff. Anyway, we're here. Okay, here we are now. Shorter term, we really didn't kiss the line. Close enough for government work. We spiked here last night in the NASDAQ. I actually think the NASDAQ, based upon my intelligence gathering, might have more cracks in it. And we were talking about Microsoft. And what's interesting about Microsoft is with this gap on the deal that they got, I think from Boeing or GE, I don't know who, but they beat out Amazon. Since that happened, I mean, hardly any progress. We've really been moving sideways, and this was a gap. They filled it in on it, but I'm not saying it's bad yet, but under that blue line 42 it is. So, and keep in mind, while Microsoft has been doing this, I mean, the S&Ps have been doing this, right? So what led the market isn't keeping pace with the acceleration to the upside in the S&Ps. So I'd say stock indexes are a turnaround Tuesday candidate, with the caveat being, we could still test 82. Looks like here in NASDAQ, it comes in at around 82.36. One of Grega's numbers was 80 in the S&Ps. Peter Goodburn was 65. We're above that. There's some people talking 3,100. So, I'm not talking about this being the top of the market and entering the new bear market. But again, I think there's going to be a high in the next several days that gives us a correction into Thanksgiving. Everyone with me on my analysis? Is everyone seeing my screen?
I can see your screen. Good morning.
Oh,
Yes.
well, thank you very much. Okay. But no
Same here.
charts. But no charts.
I can see the
All right.
chart.
Anyway, I'm going to take the video off.
There is a chance. I don't know if
I
you're on
just
a Mac.
wanted to wear, I woke up today,
Coach.
guys, and
Coach, if they're on a MacBook or something, there is a chance, since you're sharing your screen, that Zoom, the main screen, got maximized and moved to the next virtual screen. So check that out.
Yeah, check that out, guys.
Click on the Zoom icon, and that should bring it forward, because I've seen that happen.
Yeah, Brock says he's on a MacBook.
Actually,
you see.
From what I can see, your the quotes are not moving. So maybe the screen is frozen. I can see a chart, a Nasdaq chart, but I can't see anything moving anywhere.
On the right-hand side, they're moving for me.
No. That's a different story. Now that what he mentions is that your screen seems to be frozen. Have you paused it by mistake?
No.
Okay. Why don't you try stop sharing and share again?
Maybe that's why they can't see the live screen, because it's been. Let's see.
Okay.
That's better, yes.
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. Zoom better start to bloom besides the stock price. Anyway, all right. Everything okay, guys? Huh? Okay.
Everything seems to be
all
fine.
good. All good.
All good. All right. So, oil, as you can see here, threatening to make new highs. I'm going to try and be patient for oil here. This looked like a stop hunt forgot Andre pointed it out yesterday, the way it kind of failed, but we're going through it. So I'm looking for 58.5, 59. Actually, oil the last couple days has been outperforming the S&Ps, which is interesting. So maybe if we get this further rally in oil, I like a short coming up in oil. Okay, I mean, everyone wants to top pick the S&Ps, but let me ask you this: what's a weaker chart? A market making 1, 2 lower highs in a descending triangle, or this? So, if you look at the two charts, which one is displaying more relative weakness? It's obvious, right? So the other thing I'm looking at, I'm down on the trade. I took it last night from 108.76 is the yen here. Excellent recovery from Friday's sell-off. I think we're probably 78.6 back here, but we're right back into this congestion range. So I'm not sure this is going to be a puke job, but why can't we pull back to 8.5? I'm not looking to make $1 million in the market on one trade, and no one should. Just make money. And with that being said, what do you guys think of the Forex Analytics hat? I don't know if Blake has any left.
I don't. I actually only have like a couple left. I think I have like 1 or 2 left.
Oh my God, they're like they're rarities now.
We didn't have a big allotment of those.
Okay.
And
Well,
I'm
I
not sure I'd
know.
go with that hat again. The hat's it's all right. I've seen better ones. So
This hat?
not and I wear them too. I'm just saying I'm talking about the hat itself. I'm not 100% sold on that one. But anyway.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Susan Taylor likes it.
Oh, cool. Well, I think it looks good on you.
And I'm playing first base. I'm a left-hander. I can't, I pitch, outfield, and first base. First base is a pretty tough position. Everyone thinks it's easy.
Monica said you look like from the F1 team. You do. You look,
and I'm riding the bench.
Yeah,
I'm riding the bench
you're
on the.
You're in the pit. You're the pit crew.
In Little League, I was the youngest guy in the majors. They had farm, minor, majors, and they had to put you in for one inning a game back in the prehistoric age. So I struck out almost every time because these kids were 3 years older than me, except once because I'm left-handed, Blake. They all would shift, pull over, and I got lucky and hit a ground ball down third base. And my one hit that season was a home run, a grounder down the third base line.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the end of my athletic. I peaked. That's where my athletic career peaked. Anyway.
Well, most people peak in their high school years, so that's good.
Anyway, so kind of quiet again today, brother.
It is. The euro's trading heavy. The dollar's still pretty firm. The dollar's up on let me go ahead.
So 1120 was trying to hold yesterday in euro. To me, it looks like we could go all the way down to what, 10.5 now, 1080.
Well, I think we're going to find some support down here. We got maybe a double top. It's going to try to play out, but it's probably going to find some support below 110 or 111. Excuse me.
Oh, 111. Okay.
Yeah, so like 110. 80s or so. Remember, that's going to be a retest of like this old trend line, the old wedge. Yeah. It seems possible. It is trading heavy today. Remember, we do have ISM services data today, which we got the jobs report, and it's probably going to be. I mean, everybody's expecting a strong number. So the way to play it is if it's a weak number. If it's a weak number, I don't know if the euro's the way to play it. The better way to play it might be playing the dollar yen, because the dollar yen's had such a big rally off of the lows. I mean, that's an enormous rally. Now, remember, one of the reasons why the dollar yen's up here is because all the news, China trade related news.
Oh.
Yeah, and last night the FT reported that the U.S. officials are debating whether or not to remove tariffs on 112 billion worth of Chinese imports. so they can secure that phase one deal. So that's what the FT reported last night, and that just boosted the dollar yen up again. So the dollar yen was already firm. We're at
Yeah.
the 618. We're just continuing higher now. The hourly
We had the
RSIs
78.6 on it now.
not yet. We would be up there around 108.99,
Okay.
well 109 level, but
Mhm.
relative strength is really divergent on the hourlies, and it's getting a little overbought. So like I said, I think that on a weak number, shorting the dollar yen makes sense. But also keeping in mind that we have a big long-term, inverted head and shoulder pattern too. That's still set up. It's not, it,
Yeah.
it's not only developed in price but also in time. This is a real, like, you look at how long it took to develop the left shoulder.
Yeah.
The right shoulder is, oops, let me grab that. Let's see. Is about,
A few more
symmetrical.
weeks.
Yeah, just
Well,
a
this is
couple
the hourly.
couple
So
more 4 hours.
days.
Yeah, a couple more days.
Yeah.
So big inverted head and shoulder patterns still developing. So you got to be a little careful being short dollar yen. But if we're just talking about the number and talking about today,
A scalp.
yeah, you might be able to squeeze out a little bit, on the short side today, potentially, and
Can I ask you this, like, Blake, today the euro's down 18, cable's up 18. When I see a day like that, I don't want to fade dollar strength when the euro is weaker than the pound and EG's under pressure. Do you feel the same way when you're looking at the board and you see euro? I prefer to fade the dollar if it was reversed and the euro was up 18 and cable down 18. Do you have any views on that?
I don't. I really don't. There's no like preset rule that's in my mind that's like, oh, the euro is stronger than the cable or vice
Yeah.
versa, where it's going
Okay.
to influence what I'm doing. I think the pound overall is holding up pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to admit that the pound is holding up very well. And I think if there's any broad-based US dollar weakness, the pound's going to be one of the favorited currencies to break 130 because it's just not pulling back.
Okay.
Anybody who's shorting it's probably a little frustrated here that it's not pulling back, especially with the euro. And if the euro, just remember the overnight highs in the euro was 111.40. Okay, and we're, you just look at the hourly charts. We're oversold in the euro. We're divergent. We hit new lows in price, not new lows in relative strength. So if the euro bounces back up to 111.40, 111.50, where does that put the cable? I mean,
Yeah.
barring any bad news.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if the weakness rallies, the strength will continue to outperform.
Yeah, I mean the cable could be right back up at these,
Yeah.
the 129.50, 129.60 level pretty easily. So
Thanks for answering that, buddy.
yeah, you're welcome. It's not like I said, I don't have a preference, but in the event of dollar weakness, yeah, you could probably look at the cable too, not just the dollar yen. You could probably look at the cable and say, well, the cable's just not going down. So, being long that makes perfect sense at this point. Like I said, I have to note that the pound is holding up really well, and we may need further news to actually get it to break out, like whether it's election poll related news, to show that the Labor Party is truly in the driver's seat, which we can talk to Stelios about here in a bit, because I know the polls are actually fairly tight right now, but that could probably strengthen the cable a little bit. But like I said, the dollar yen, the bounce in the dollar yen has been pretty massive. But look at, just take a look at relative strength right now. A, we're overbought. B, it's divergent here on this rally. So you got to be a little bit more cautious with the dollar yen, even after the overnight news. A couple other things that I'll make mention of. The RBA kept their rates unchanged. They left an easing bias, but the Aussie still firmed up towards highs. And we are, knocking our head up against, trend highs. There's 161% extension just above that. But what I do want to point out about the Aussie is we are, the thing, we had this lower low and false breakdown and reversal that has led to a break higher. And so, yes, the 200-day moving average is just above, but what we are making now, and regardless if we come down here, or not, we're making higher highs, and that's got to be recognized by the market that we are making indeed higher highs in the Aussie dollar, which is bullish by definition. So, now does that mean that the Aussie is out of its downtrend? I mean, probably not, especially that we have this nice little trend line that comes through here. But man, we clear that 200-day moving average, and the Aussie will really be leading this charge higher or lower in the dollar. You could look at it. But I think that these highs up here around the 69.50 level roughly are very key. And if you're shorting the Aussie dollar right now, you probably are a little nervous, I would think. There are other currencies that are, obviously underperforming. You got the dollar Canadian. It's surprising, with as much dollar strength as we've had, that the dollar Canadian is having a really difficult time getting out of its own way right now. I'm 100% astonished that the dollar Canadian is not trading up at 132.50, 133, with all the dollar strength that we've seen. But the dollar Canadian it's trading really heavy. That's probably on account of risk appetite. We've got risk appetite that's strong. You got the Canadian yen. I mean, looks ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculously strong. We had a great pivot off the 38% retracement off 82, and it's been extremely strong. But yeah, the Canadian dollar has done very, very well. I should say the Canadian dollar has done very well. The US dollar Norwegian krona is still struggling. I actually believe that the US dollar Norwegian krona has put in a high here at 9.30. I believe that you can probably trade the US dollar Norwegian krona on the short side from here on out. I know Stelios has been all over that. On the short side, but I think that it has, seen an intermediate high. That doesn't mean it can't go up from here maybe to 920 or so, but I think that longer term we are, probably peaked in the US dollar Norwegian krona, and for that reason, if you're looking for dollar shorts, selling the US dollar Norwegian krona on strength makes a lot of sense to me at this stage. US dollar Swedish krona is very similar story, even though we're getting a bounce, the last couple of days. I think that we might have peaked here on more of an intermediate basis. So another currency that I guess we should note is the US dollar Swiss franc has been really strong. It's had a nice bounce back. The euro is struggling. I think the euro has some unfinished business below 111, which we might see here before the ISM. It's just trading extremely heavy right now. I wish it wasn't, because I'm long, but it's still trading heavy, and it is what it is. And a lot of that might be due to the euro pound, which is also showing some weakness here. The euro pound's trying to break lower. We're in a tight triangle, so that's probably weighing a bit on the euro dollar, the euro currency in general. And actually, if you look at the euro Aussie is trading below the 200-day moving average, there's a lot of euro pairs that are actually under some pressure. So it would explain why the euro dollar is trading as heavy as it is right now. With that being said, I'd like to bring in my colleague Steve and Stelios, and see Stelios maybe has some flavor on why the pound's holding up a little bit better this morning.
No, I don't. I don't want to talk about the Brexit or the pound anymore.
I wouldn't want to talk about it either. Good morning. So,
Yeah.
well, let's turn it to something that you might be more interested in talking about. We got the US dollar Norwegian krona Hey, good morning, Steve. It's
Good morning.
the
We'll talk about
Norway.
everything.
The NOK is holding up relatively well here.
It is trying, and the oil is obviously helping as well. But I stand by my view. It's been very frustrating because I've been short Euro Norway and dollar Norway. Dollar Norway is probably around flat now, but Euro Norway I'm a little bit underwater. But I still believe this is the right trade. And actually, dollar Norway now has no carry either. Remember, the US rates were quite a bit higher than Norway until recently. And so, yeah, I still believe in that. Now, the UK, we are getting closer to the elections. Like you correctly said, the split is roughly half a 50-50 in terms of Conservatives plus Brexit Party versus Labour plus Lib Dems. The interesting thing I was reading today was that there was a YouGov poll, which is supposed to be pretty actually accurate. I don't want to say accurate, but it's something that people look at. And in London, which is population-wise pretty big part of England, the lead that Labour had from the general election in 2017 has shrunk massively. So I was just reading the numbers. I actually didn't remember that it was such a big lead, but 2017 Labour had 55%, Conservatives 33%. And Lib Dems 9. Now it's 35 versus 23. It's still in the lead, but much tighter.
Right.
Yeah.
The euro's coming under pressure, by the way. Here comes the euro down to it should hit the 78% retracement, take all the stops below 111, just FYI.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big it's a tighter race than people thought it was going to be.
Yes. And again, I think as we get closer to it, it's going to get quite unpredictable, because people probably realize that, like we've said before, this is another vote for remaining or leaving. So as this will sink in, I think we might see swings in the polls. And also it will depend on the participation rate, how many, what percentage of people vote, and the demographics, age groups and etc. So that's going to be very interesting. We've had nothing more from the pound. We had some numbers today. Service PMI beat a little bit, was exactly at 50. Expected slightly lower, so nothing major. But,
and we have the Bank of England that's coming up later on this week, and we can't really expect anything from them because their hands are pretty much tied right now.
Of course.
With Brexit looming, right?
There's no way they're gonna do anything ahead of the elections and ahead of a Brexit outcome. And they've said it before that the main obstacle is Brexit, for the policy to actually change. So there's no way they're going to do anything. So don't expect anything from there. You did mention the RBA, who were on hold at 0.75%. It's interesting because the market has been pricing more cuts. They cut in October, remember, and has been pricing more cuts. But after last week or so, when we had inflation uptick, some housing data was better. Overall, it's looking a little bit better. And let's not forget, Australia is heavily dependent on China, as a big chunk of its exports are headed there. So the more numbers start stabilizing like they are, and the more it looks like we might get a deal between the US and China, I think the Aussie will, or should at least, recover. So now, from what I read, I don't have the OIS prices here with me, but I read that the market's pricing less than another cut for the next, say, 1 or 2 years, and it was pricing more before. So that's interesting. So the RBA is probably done for now, and wait and see what happens.
All right, sounds good. Steve, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Blake. I'm fine. How have you been?
I'm fine.
You just talked to him yesterday. You think anything, you say, how have you been? It sounds like you haven't talked to him.
I know. I feel like he's still on
Do you
vacation.
think that too when he asks you that every day, Blake?
Yeah, like
Doesn't he know? I mean, Steve, don't you know how I am? How have you been in the last, haven't seen you since yesterday, Steve. How have you
How
Since
you
been?
yesterday
doing?
night, right? Yeah, how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing? You Greeks
So-
can't do it.
we're looking towards ISM today, and really that's the data that's we've got really today that's on the docket. The ISM data, and then we're going to have obviously
Please don't
we have
talk
trade
in
balance.
legal terms.
Sorry, we have trade balance, Canadian and U.S. trade balance, but shouldn't influence the market too much. Couple Fed members speaking, and maybe the dairy price index might actually move the kiwi today. That's actually what we're looking at today. So
Fed
I don't-
members
Don't
speaking.
drink milk.
yeah,
I think we have a lot of them speaking this week in general. Usually it's like it comes out of a comedy show. Barkin just mentioned like 25 minutes ago, if the consumers keep spending, US economy is in a good place. Now,
Don't start, Steve.
in all honesty, knowing that the vast majority of spending comes from credit, how can a PhD economist actually make that statement? He didn't say that if the consumers keep spending, the US economy will stay afloat. He says that it will be in a good place. Now, I honestly don't know what to say about
Do
those guys.
you subscribe to that guy?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean,
Woody's got to
yeah,
be worth $1,000 a month.
at,
right.
at the very least. At the very least, yes.
all right. Well, guys, I'm going to let you debate on how great these Fed speakers are. I'm going to get to trading, but I want to say if you guys haven't tried out Forex Analytics, make sure you do so. And if you haven't visited our webinar sponsor, Forest Park FX, make sure you do that as well. Just to ask them, like, hey, I'm with this broker. Is there a better broker that I could, it's worth your time, and it's definitely going to be worth your.
Yeah, some guy on Twitter was looking for an account, and yesterday, and I sent him to Trent, and he said, God, he was so helpful, and he had found the perfect fit for him.
And that's what they do. That's what they do as a company. So
Yeah.
make sure you visit them, and I'm gonna turn it over to you guys. Have a great one, Steve, Stelios, Coach. Thank you, and
You're free to go on bail.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Don't forget to visit the sheriff's office once per month, Blake.
All right, I'll visit my payroll officer. You got it.
Parole officer. Anyway,
I visit the payroll officer.
All right.
Yeah.
You do.
That's
And
a
always
better
on
idea,
time.
See you guys.
No, really, very, very timely guy, that Blake Morrow. Anyway, what are you guys doing? Yeah, I think that's a great question. One of our attendees asked, and I think about LIBOR, guys. I don't know who's going to field it. Maybe the guy who used to trade.
I used to be a market maker for that, so Megan.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
What was the question?
Scroll back in the question box. It was right before we started, and it was it in chat? I think it was in chat.
1 second.
Here it is.
The comments.
I have a question, and it came from Brock, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe you and the team could consider during the session, do you think central banks will be able to push LIBOR down over time with the ongoing repo crisis?
LIBOR. Well, LIBOR is being phased out within this year, I think, or within, I can't remember when the end date is. So that's, it's, I think the LIBOR itself is gonna be irrelevant very soon.
Why are they phasing it out? Just because there was a scandal?
Yeah, because it's
Probably,
supposed to be not as dependable, let's say, and although
you mean more? What they're trying to say is more easily manipulated.
Coach, listen, you got the reason 100%. If there was no scandal surrounding the LIBOR, trust me, nobody would care to touch it. But since now, do you remember that we had this conversation before Fed announced that they're buying, they're purchasing again, like bonds and everything, that I told you in advance that there is no chance they're going to use the term quantitative easing because it's tainted. Right. So this is the exact same reason they're replacing
everything's
LIBOR.
PR.
Exactly, because LIBOR is tainted. Nothing else. That's it. As simple as that.
The funny thing is that it was tainted because the the major central banks and the bank heads actually pushed it lower for no reason at all. But anyway, that's a big story to discuss. During the crisis, when they were pushing it 50 and 100 basis points lower, when it was getting even more difficult to raise cash or to borrow from each other. So that's a different story that we can talk about for hours.
Okay, thank you.
But whatever
Thank you,
whatever they replace it with, I think it's undoubtedly the case that they will be able to do whatever they want, just like they did during the crisis. So, if it's a repo rate, if it's something, whatever it is, they can move it up or down as they wish. So if that answers the question, then
yeah,
it's all
so
rigged.
As
President
Brock
Trump says, when he doesn't get results that he wants, it's rigged.
Yeah. The only way this thing could be 100% representative is if it's backed by actual transactions, and that's the only way you can get it to be representative. And I don't think it's going to be. So, as long as there is a subjective element to it, then
I think there is a very good reason they want it to be a subjective element about that, Stelios.
Yeah. And Brock is asking what are Eurodollars futures are going to be based on.
Eurodollar
futures are 100 minus 3-month LIBOR, which is correct. I don't know is the answer. So I'll have to research it. Because the Eurodollar future market is huge as well. So what is that going to be replaced by?
But by the way, for those that don't know, when he says Eurodollar, he doesn't mean Euro USD, right?
It's dollar interest rate futures.
Exactly.
That was another game to, increase money supply, wasn't it? Starting the Eurodollar all those years ago.
Yeah, it's
it used to be a big pit on the CME.
It's a very deep market and a very useful market actually for hedging. I used to use it every single day, but this is a very long conversation. I think we need to do a special webinar.
How do we make pips today is what everyone's interested in. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Stelio, anything else? We talked about the RBA. Anything else, for example, about Brexit or whatever before we?
No Brexit, no. Actually, no. There's nothing new.
There was also, we forgot to mention that there were like some rumors. I got an alert from Financial Times yesterday. They had an article about the US likely taking off some tariffs. So I'm assuming that's going to also have a positive spin for the market, having to do with risk on, because I'm assuming that they will interpret that the US considering taking off some of the tariffs already is an indication.
For who? Europe?
No.
Or
Chinese
China?
tariffs. Chinese tariffs. Yeah. So probably this is being interpreted as an extra sign that perhaps they're on the right path, having to do with a US-China trade deal. Now I don't think we've got any confirmation about that, but that's what came out like. Yeah, that's what came out like. I don't know, like 15 hours ago or so. So anything else?
You know what that is? That kind of stuff floating around instead of QE, it's QB. You know what that is? Quantitative bullshit.
Bullshit. Yes.
All right. Anyway,
absolutely.
Go ahead. Don't get this old man angry in the morning. I'll hit you with my cane.
All right. Steve, I don't have anything else to say. Sorry.
Okay. Cool. Time to jump on the charts. Okay.
How about this? Newsflash, either do I. You're on your own, man.
Oh my. No, don't do this to me. Okay, so let's start today by having a look at the Aussie. And, the reason I want to do this is because we have, a couple of interesting charts regarding the Aussie. One of them is definitely the Aussie USD, which hasn't done anything major since yesterday. Yesterday we had like a down day. So far today, we've had the exact opposite day. So we're back to where we were on Friday, more or less, toying around with this 61.8% fib. What is more important here, though, is the fact that we are stalling very, very close to a confluence of resistances, which will define if the Aussie remains in a downtrend or if something else is about to happen here. You can see here we have this blue descending channel, and on top of it, we also have the 200 daily moving average. So, all that comes at 69.50. So we're like 50 pips below that. So I do think that 69.50 is a key area for the Aussie against the US dollar. So, you like it to the downside. This is where you sort it. You have a very good risk reward ratio. But, if it breaks out and it closes above 69.50, I'm pretty sure that we're going to see an extension higher. Perhaps this was just building some type of a base here. Of course, you always need to respect the trend, and the trend remains lower as long as, that area holds. But keep an eye on it, because if it fails, I'm pretty sure there are going to be, significant stop losses there, and we will see an extension higher. Now, having to do with the Aussie against the Kiwi, let's see if this time it is actually ready to continue higher. I mean, this was likely a flag. We pushed higher, we came down, like we retested it. It's a little bit, the chart here is a little bit messed up. I mean, perhaps it was a pennant, who knows? I mean, something like that. But in any case, this move lower did look quite corrective. Okay, so something like that, perhaps. So I do think that, against 1070, it is likely that we're going to see more strength from the Aussie against the Kiwi. Also notice here the daily RSI reset from overbought to 43, between 40 and 60 is where you usually expect to find, support in an uptrend or resistance in a downtrend. So that also is quite positive. So we might see another push higher from here. Now, the Aussie against the yen is somewhat less clear, but I can tell you one thing for sure: we have a nice confluence of resistances higher from where we currently are at 76.20, where we complete the quality target from the first leg higher to a second leg higher. 200 daily moving average was there as well, but has now moved a little bit lower. It is also horizontal support resistance area. So, another 100 pips to the upside looks like a likely scenario for the Aussie against the yen. And last but not least, I wanted to show the Euro Aussie, because the Euro Aussie is actually looking like it's breaking down. There it is. So look at this. Quite a massive ascending wedge, right? And look at today's candle, penetrating through that confluence of supports and the 200 daily moving average, which was just below. So of course it remains to be seen if we will manage to close below, but I have to say that if we do manage to close below 161, I really don't see any area of support until we reach 159 to begin with. Needless to say that, that might have a lot more implications than, a lot bigger implications than just a move down to 159, because you can see this massive formation, which dates back to the beginning of 2017. So it's like 2.5 years, a little bit more than 2.5 years. So Euro Aussie, quite a significant move here. Euro Kiwi, by the way, since we're here, also probably attempting to break down from here, but as you see, nothing in comparison to what we have in Euro Aussie, because even if we take into account this possible ascending wedge, what hasn't changed is that we remain in a bigger symmetrical triangle. So Euro Aussie definitely looks like a much better bet for a short position than Euro Kiwi looks at the moment, and that's another signal that perhaps the Aussie against the Kiwi is going to do well. So the Aussie Kiwi might continue higher from here after that period of consolidation. Now, since we're talking about cross rates and we didn't mention those yesterday, if we want to have a look at the pounds equivalent rates, let's first say that, you know, the pound is likely in a triangle here. We mentioned that, actually, you weren't here because it was a special webinar. We, you know, we are likely in a triangle, so the pound looks like it is about to break higher. But having a look at the pound against the Aussie, there it is. You see that we've had a healthy move lower. Now, so far it looks corrective. So, you know, even if the Aussie is to do well with the pound looking as constructive as it does, you know, it's probably, you know, better to, you know, trade like Aussie and Kiwi against the euro, as you understand. Anyhow, this move lower looks corrective. Keep in mind that pound Aussie is still trapped within an expanding triangle, a megaphone formation. And here's the pound against the Kiwi, likely within a triangle as well. So this looks like it might get resolved to the upside as well. Now, in this case, pound against the Kiwi, we remain within a long-term ascending channel. And as usually the market, you know, I'm pretty sure that it managed to trap quite a lot of people in the wrong direction when it falsely broke below this channel. You can see it in this area here back in, what was it? End of July, start of August, okay? Now, since we covered those, a couple more things before I go to questions. One is, you know, we had quite a nice constructive move higher here in the USD CAD, but keep in mind that we are now finding resistance in this broken channel. So if we didn't have this channel, this recent price action would look like a consolidation to me, with another leg higher very likely to follow, right? But I'm a lot more skeptical due to the existence of this channel. So I want to see what's going to happen from this area. Okay, now looking at the short-term chart, as I said, it looks like this consolidation is going to result to the upside. Looking at the bigger picture on this channel, you know, it's not that certain at all. Of course, I'm assuming that, you know, if you really want to, you can even redraw this channel like slightly different, and, you know, perhaps this looking less like a breakdown. But I think that's the best way to draw the channel. So far, I'm paying close attention to it. I'm really looking forward to what the USD CAD wants to do from here. As Blake showed, you know, earlier, the CAD against the yen is, in any case, you know, doing very well. Keep in mind that, you know, we were talking about this descending trend line resistance. We broke above it. We came down. We retested the 200 daily moving average in this horizontal support area, and we seem to be, you know, finding a nice bid once again. In any case, 83.40, 83.50 is a resistance. It was also the equality target of the first move higher to the second one. So I really don't have a strong bias between 82 and 83.50, but I'm pretty convinced that, you know, either a break above 83.50 or a break below 82 is going to produce follow through one way or another. Okay. Now, having to do with the metals, because the two of the metals actually are producing some nice developments today. Let's have a look at crude first, and then I'm going to jump to the metals because there was a question about it. And the only thing I have to say here is that nothing has changed. So we're still testing this confluence of resistances, 50% fib and 200 daily moving average. Also, we still remain within this ascending channel. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a rejection anywhere between here and $58 for another leg lower.
I'm looking for your 61.8 there, Steve, as a possibility.
58.70, you mean?
Yeah. And
can happen.
I like your roadmap.
Especially if we take more days consolidating, then this ascending channel's resistance will also reach the 61.8. So then it's going to be a confluence between the 61.8 and this channel's resistance. So we can, that can happen as well.
And remember what a tight correlation we had, and then it broke apart with crude displaying much more weakness in the indexes. And,
Yeah.
you know, I still think it's related because it's a reflection of global growth. And so with the S&Ps blowing off to new record highs, this would be the second lower high. So you have a tertiary high with a blow off in the stock market. This is what I was saying when I said, you know, I'm looking for 8220-ish in NAS 100 and a rally to sell in the crude. The crude is the better short because it's already, you know, off its highs for what, months and months and months, with the S&Ps making new highs. So if the S&P is correct and a market can't perform with a market that it should be, what's going to happen when the S&Ps come off is the question I ask crude bulls.
Yeah, most likely there's going to be pain here. There's no question about it. I mean,
That's,
crude doesn't follow risk always,
yeah.
but frequently, very frequently, it follows it closely. So there's no chance that we're going to get the beginning of a bear market at some point, and crude is going to be unfazed and, you know, not care about it. There's no chance.
That's
I
my
mean,
point.
unless this is combined with some like
Geopolitical event.
yeah, some huge
Supply
shocks,
shock.
exactly, that will affect supply greatly. So unless there is some kind of a weird combination like that, yes,
I filled
crude
my
should
tank
suffer.
yesterday. I'm you know, at the top. I'm getting long. I have a full gas tank near the highs.
Yeah,
Then I'll average out. I'll average out as it comes down.
You
After I
Americans
run out of
don't
this tank.
really use fuel efficient cars. I have to admit.
We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I have a carbon footprint size 13.
Okay. Oh, I'm with you. I mean, I like fast cars, so as you understand, you know, that doesn't go along with, you know, low
Hey,
emissions,
you know,
obviously.
isn't it a blast? And aren't we fortunate to enjoy what we do?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, laughing in the morning and looking to make pips. Can you think of anything better? Well, yeah, there's a few things, but
There are a
not
few things, to be
not
honest,
many
yes.
though. Not many. Hey, Gregorius, you know, are you up for it? Just leave me a message in the chat.
He's written that he used to work in a bank, in a big bank, if I remember
Yeah, I've
right.
seen his
So,
tweets. He has some nice stuff. So this is your chance. I mean, you didn't have a.
there you go, Grigori.
I mean, is he going to do it?
We don't have enough Greeks on the show, so.
Yeah. Are you up for it?
He says you have scheduled him for November.
Oh, really?
Okay,
see, that's possible. Really? When in November?
I have news for you. It is November.
Yeah. I don't see you anywhere. No. You're not scheduled. Unless you use a different name. Okay. So he's the LOL.
If
we talked in August? All right. Why don't you just be straight with me? I don't remember talking to you in August either.
Coach, you're 173 years old. Come on. I mean, you can forget something.
Not that. No, I've never talked to him. All right. Well, you check Twitter. Okay.
Okay, check
All
Twitter,
right, anyway.
but why does it matter? If you want to come on today, just come on today. I mean,
why
really matter.
See? Some people want to hide. I'm suspecting he's a millennial and he only feels comfortable texting or posting, and
he isn't. Stop trying to provoke him. He's going to come on. He's going to come on regardless.
What do you mean? You talk about what? Every day you're telling us where the markets are going to go. This is your chance to tell, you know, 400 people. Show them what you got. Okay. All right. Anyway, Steve, we have no guests today. Any brave people out there? You don't have
think
to
it-
be prepared. You're
You
trading
don't have to be
right now.
prepared. Do you think I prepared anything for today?
You think I ever scripted? Do you think I've ever scripted an interview? I don't know what I'm going to say. All right, we bullied him into it.
Yeah, there you go. You know,
John
I
Davies
knew
would. John, you were just on yesterday.
I knew
I don't
he's
want
up
the
for
spotlight
challenge.
to burn the rest of your hair off your head.
I knew he was up for the challenge.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so we have
All right.
Grigoris today. Great. So,
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Now,
I'll make you the panelist. Just
let me-
relax in 10 minutes.
let me go through a couple of charts that are quite
Isn't live
interesting.
TV great, man?
Oh, it is. It is.
Huh? This is live, man. TV, I call it.
Yeah, almost TV. Okay. For 2019 standards, you can call it TV.
Everything.
So,
I have the rabbit ears up on my TV right now.
Coach, Platinum. You remember
Alright.
this trend line?
Yeah.
Guess what? It worked again. You see? So Platinum, another nice rejection. So, this is something I wanted to mention. And, perhaps this will point to, a few days of weakness in the rest of the metals, because guess what? Look at Palladium. Palladium is also trying to break down. Now, don't misunderstand me here. I mean, breaking through a very steep ascending channel, is not a sign that you should be going all in, shorting Palladium. I mean, Palladium has proved that it's very strong, and we still haven't fulfilled one of the targets, which is the cup and handle formations target at 1940. But that doesn't mean that Palladium can't do something like this, right? Before completing the target. So keep an eye on them. Both Palladium and Platinum are showing some signs that, they might be about to, suffer further. And look also at the move we have here in silver, quite a big move down today, and gold. So I do think that, oh, there it is, actually. Gold just crossed through an alert that we had placed. So I want to see how this is going to work out, because keep in mind, I mean, it's not necessary that the pennant we have in place was that one and it's not this one, right? I am very, very convinced that the metals are moving higher, but that doesn't mean that before moving higher, they can't first, get a lot of the bulls disappointed and out of their positions by, for example, posting a lower low before moving higher. As I've said multiple times here, you have to keep in mind, corrective moves are notoriously difficult to read and predict in advance what kind of form they will take, okay? So I remain very bullish the metals, but we might even see a lower low before the uptrend can resume. So that's what I wanted to stress out today. Let me go through your questions. Okay, Grigori, he's gonna make a coffee and he's gonna come back in full force. Okay, we had a question about USD SEC from Forest Gal. So USD SEC. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, USD SEC was testing a very key level. You can see we had this ascending wedge drawn out here since a long time ago. We found support exactly there, and as long as this holds, you don't really have a reason to be very bearish, because even if it eventually breaks down, there is nobody. Let's delete all this. There is nobody saying that it can't first do something like this, right? So USD SEC, a nice risk reward opportunity to be long against this channel. But not channel wedge, but be careful, because if it breaks, you don't want to be long, in any type or form, especially if we also take out this horizontal support resistance area and 200 daily moving average at 949. Below 949, you don't want to be long for any reason. I'm pretty sure that we're going to see much lower prices once we end up breaking through that area. So you can be long until that happens, and you might actually end up doing well, because we remain in an uptrend, right? This is a low, this is a higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. You can see series of higher lows. I mean, this is the definition of an uptrend, right? But as I said, don't be in the wrong side of the market if that happens. And if that happens, keep in mind, Euro USD is going to also be moving higher. The USD Swiss, by the way, we haven't shown the USD Swiss in a few days, so it's a good opportunity to do so now. The USD Swiss, there you go, USD Swiss. The USD Swiss is also going to continue lower. Obviously not easy to read what type of price action we have here. I mean, looked like a nice breakdown, but look at this consolidation. Now we're consolidating horizontally. 98.40 key area of support. Below 98.40, USD Swiss is going a lot lower. So this is the area to watch there. Okay, 98.40. Now having to do with the euro, several levels to watch. One of them is definitely this one. Let me put a line there actually, because it's quite significant. Let's do it in blue, so you can see this trend line there. Okay, where does this pass from? There you go. It's 110.70. So 110.70, first area of support to watch, and then 110.30. So 110.70, 110.30, good areas of support. I still have a decently constructive bias here. I think this market can end up really squeezing people the way that the cable has done. Of course, there's no proof yet. I mean, we still have lower highs so far. But my gut feeling tells me that there is a very decent chance we're going to squeeze people out. So far, I'm viewing this as a horizontal consolidation, as some type of a short-term correction. Talk about copper and USD. Yeah, absolutely. I will gladly do that. So Chinese yuan and copper. So Chinese yuan, if I remember right, I was looking at it earlier today, is about to test an important area. There it is. And you can see why. So we had this cup and handle formation, likely cup and handle formation. We broke above it. Then we looked like we were consolidating in a triangle. So I expected that we might have seen one more push to the upside, but that's not what happened, because as you see, we collapsed through that trend line. And guess what? We are about to retest previous resistance at 697, 698. So there is no question about it. You like it to the upside, this is exactly where you buy it. But if we break through it again, then this might indicate that that was, the last thrust higher, and a much deeper corrective move lower might be about to begin. So good question. I wanted to mention it, but I forgot about it. Very key area here for the Chinese yuan against the US dollar, and having to do with the copper that you asked. There it is. Copper, I think I showed this last week. Now, if you want to take this as a descending wedge, which it likely is, we broke above it, we came down, we didn't actually retest it, but I mean, we did come down, still held above it. And, you know, we seem to be decently well bid here. So what I'm going to tell you here about copper is we have this confluence of the 200 daily moving average and horizontal resistance area 272. I think that's quite a key area to watch. A break above 272, I think, will indicate that we might have a much stronger recovery underway there. Okay. So that's what I think about copper. And obviously, that would also bode well with the possibility of the Aussie against the US dollar breaking out from that confluence of resistances we were talking about earlier. We're just like 50 pips away. Very frequently, copper and the Aussie are, correlated, very well correlated with each other. In the past, it was actually, the correlation was even better. Now it's circumstantial, as we mentioned about crude and the S&P, that, on occasion, crude will follow very closely the S&P, but other times it will decouple. It used to be that the Aussie was like very, very tightly correlated almost constantly with copper. It's not that much anymore, but, it should definitely play a role. How is the euro going to do and Greece cope if Turkey's anti-West Erdogan fulfills his threats to the West and releases 11 million Muslim persons across the Aegean into Greece, asks Richard. In my opinion, that will be the end of Greece as we have known it and will be an existential threat to the EU. Therefore, the euro should reflect the risk premium and less so the British pound. That is a good argument. I mean, is it going to be a big problem if they release like 11 million people that are at their shores, migrants? Yes. Do I believe they're going to do it, that they're going to, get to that extent? I don't believe so, because, Erdogan doesn't want to have everybody as an enemy, right? I mean, he has proved to be unpredictable and, quite hostile. Does he really want to anger, the European Union that much? I doubt it. I think that he's going to keep creating problems, but at a less extent than letting 11 million immigrants just, illegally going through to Greece. And of course, then it's a European problem, obviously. So I think there's going to be a problem, but, not of that extent that you mentioned.
Well, Steve, you could put up some tents in your backyard, can't you?
The problem.
You could take 10 in.
The problem, coach, is that there is no way you can stop them because they come through sea, and of course you cannot stop a boat in sea because it's very dangerous. I mean, you don't want to drown people, of course, right? I mean, being an illegal immigrant doesn't mean that you should die attempting to go across, obviously, right? I mean, you still have like human rights and everything else. So the problem is that since they're sending people through sea, it's not like you can actually stop them from crossing the border, and that's a huge vulnerability, and it's not an issue or a problem you can tackle by implementing some type of a method. So the only method for actually stopping illegal immigration is making sure that you have the processes in place to actually send illegal immigrants back, because illegal immigration doesn't stop in sea, it stops on the phone.
On land. Yeah.
No, it stops on the phone. And I'll explain what I mean. If you have somebody crossing illegally and calling relatives and saying, listen, I crossed illegally, I paid, like $2,000, I crossed illegally, but it was okay because, I managed to, I managed to go where I wanted to go. They let me roam free. I managed to illegally then cross to another country. and made it, for example, to Germany where I wanted to go, that is a huge incentive for more people to keep trying the same thing. Now, oppositely, if your relative calls you and tells you that,
Good
listen,
point. Yeah.
you
I'm
know,
in jail.
yeah, I crossed illegally, they immediately caught me. They put me in a special facility for people that have been coming across illegally. And they told me that, listen, you have two options here. Either telling us where we should return you, and we're going to do that, no charge, or you can stay here until you go through trial or whatever, because you broke the law, you came in illegally. So if that person calls and tells to the relatives, don't spend $2,000 trying to come across, because most probably you're going to end up where I am, that's it.
Yeah,
People
that's a
don't
good
wanna-
point. All right. Well, why don't we get to meet Gregorius now? It's about 6 after.
Let's go.
All right. Okay. I hope I'm saying your name right. Steve, am I saying it right? Say
Grigoris.
Grigoris.
Yes.
You're now panelist, buddy. And I'm going to unmute you.
Okay. Hello.
Nice to
all.
meet you. Nice to meet you, Gregorius, my
Hello
trading
there.
warrior
Nice to meet
brother.
you all too. You have to bear with my city accent.
Oh, no problem. It's better than my Greek.
They've gotten used of bad accents.
Yeah, Steve. Steve
have
is
little
already.
time
He's inoculated everyone. So
Okay.
if you
I
go
don't
to
know
the
how do
go
I
to-
share my screen.
okay, I'm going to tell you.
let-
So you hover your mouse over the green share.
I
It's a
see.
green
Start
box.
start video.
No,
No.
that's
No.
to share your webcam. There
Okay.
is a green
I
button,
found
which
it.
is
You cannot start screen share while other participants.
no
share.
worries.
Now you
I just
can.
stopped sharing, so now you can try again.
Okay. Okay. I have option because I have a dual
Yes,
monitor, so I
you
will
can choose the monitor you want to share. Correct.
Yeah, you pick it.
Okay.
All right, it's coming up. Wow.
No.
I
it's
used to
not,
use a black background,
what I mean.
but that was in my Johnny Cash days as a trader.
Now you
right.
see
Euro
the
USD.
Yeah.
Euro USD chart, right?
Yeah,
That is
we got
regular.
it here.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to
Okay.
congratulate you for
Why?
doing this.
Okay.
Some people fear public speaking more than death. Can you believe that? I fear having to be quiet more than death.
No, it's
So,
not. It's not
anyway,
appropriate.
very nice to meet you, buddy. And I saw your S&P chart that looked like you were looking for about 3120 before the sell-off. But let's start with this. How long have you been doing this?
Okay, a little background of me. I started my trading career. Okay, I was 23 years old back to 1999.
Okay.
The Greeks know that, and not only the Greek, all stock markets, then we had a nice bull market rally, especially the Greek stock market went from around 2,000K up to 6,500, and I made a lot of money then. And I
Okay.
said I'm a mechanical engineer in my background. I was finishing the Greek National Technical School back then. And I decided to start trading because there were days that I was making $2,000-3,000 per day. And back then, you understand, for a 22, 23 years old boy was a lot of money. So I decided to devote myself to the markets and started learning everything about technical analysis. Before 20 years, resources were very limited. Books were very, very few, as you know. So I had to Google, or better, let's say Netscape. You remember?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Netscape.
Look, I still have an AOL email
And
address.
yeah, we
Right.
had the IRC, if you remember, ICQ, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paltalk, if you remember. And
Okay. So
okay, I
did you
made
find
3
anybody that influenced you?
I was trading in a Greek stock market, Greek brokerage office in a desk there with 2, 3 people that were having a huge portfolio around 1 and 2 million euros into drachmas back then. But I'm telling you about the amounts. And they were not using any kind of technical analysis. There was just a guy around 30, 35 then with his laptop and was looking at some strange thing charts and using a strange software called Metastock.
I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the
So
first
yes, he was the
technical
first
analysis software
influencer to me.
packages. Yeah.
Yes, and I asked him, "What is that, mate? What do you see?" And you know, we were trading like that. Okay, today we buy this stock, Clonatex or Funko, or doesn't matter the name. Okay, and we just bought market. And this guy had he set his limit orders to buy at 3.76 euros or sell at 3.84 euros, and it was a kind of you know, something very strange to us because we didn't used to trade like that. Anyway, I searched it in the internet and start learning about this software. I start using it. So, you know, I started like all the newbies with candlesticks, RSI, stochastic indicators,
Right.
and I used, you know, the backtesting software that Metastock had. And I was very excited. I said, wow, what was I missing all those time?
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
you
So
know,
you're
when
pretty
I start,
much self-taught through just a lot
yeah,
of screen time.
just reading,
Uh-huh.
you know, because I don't know if that helps. As a mechanical engineer, I had the mathematical background to understand the indicators and see stuff like that, the formulas.
Yes.
But I have also made some formulas of my own. But
You know, as a broker, Gregorius, I would solicit to get people to open accounts with me. And I did notice engineers were excellent prospects. They really took to technical analysis, and they're very, you know,
yes,
precise and
it was very familiar to me. It's just it was it they were just maths.
it's math.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but quickly I realized in the market in my PNL that those things didn't work actually so good as in the Metastock backtesting.
Okay. So all right. So now let's come up to the present. And you
Okay.
said what you started with. So, you know,
No, I
I
started,
do
and
see.
let me just go quickly.
Okay, go ahead. You
Later
run
on
the
at
interview. You be the host and the guest. Go ahead.
2005, I was a junior bond trader in one of the Greek banks, then Eboriki Bank, in the Greek
Yeah.
bond market, GGBs. It's that, if you know, electronic bond market. We had a platform of Bank of Greece and we were trading Greek bonds. Okay, so along with German bonds, the futures, and treasury notes, the futures, in order to hedge and play some spreads, you know.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I started my trading career as in the bank as a bond trader. But along that, I was trading Greek stocks, US stocks, biotechs mostly then, and also a lot of FX. I started with OADA platform. I have traded almost in all retail platforms, FXCM, REFCO at that time, if you remember. Most of
Uh-huh.
them are closed now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So who you with now?
now I have left the bank back to 2016 after the capital
Well, who
controls.
do you trade through now?
Now I trade through IS market, IC
I
markets.
IG or IS?
No,
IS?
IC, the Australian
IC.
broker.
Okay.
IC, one Greek broker, AAA FX, Zulu Trade, if you have heard, because I have some accounts there and I manage portfolios.
Okay. All
And
right. So
most
okay,
of
now
most of
let's talk about your setup that you're using
okay,
now.
the setup. As you can see in my charts, I don't use indicators. Okay, I have this MACD here. I don't know
Okay, so
why.
then how can you say you don't use indicators and the MACD's at the bottom of your
Yeah,
chart?
yeah.
It's an
The
indicator,
MACD
right?
is on the bottom because I was looking at something at the sub time and just stayed there. I don't
Oh,
even.
you don't even pay attention to it? You just like
No, I
the
don't.
design?
I don't. And even the
Okay.
volume is obsolete in FX because there is no real volume in it is over the counter.
All right, I want you to
market.
delete both of those. It's an order.
No, I have them because you
R-
know I see Bitcoin. I trade Bitcoin
Oh, okay.
and
All right.
a lot of altcoins, but I don't want to talk about them right now. We can talk about just the Bitcoin if you want. I don't know. It's out of the blue. So tell me what you want to talk about.
No, I mean, it seems like, my goodness, you're kind of like a portfolio type trader where you could be in multiple instruments at the same time.
Yes, at
That
that time, I don't trade stocks and indices. I just
Mhm,
trade FX, majors mostly, and
mhm.
a lot of crypto altcoins.
Okay,
So let's talk about FX. It's
sure.
okay. We have here the Euro USD chart.
hmm
I am expecting uh, a move higher. Let's go to the daily chart.
Okay.
Okay, this is my major chart, the
Okay.
daily. So I'm expecting a move higher to test the 200-day moving average that I follow very closely in all time
Okay.
frames and in all assets that I trade.
Interesting.
One thing, if let's say that I have one instrument that I've never traded again, the first thing that I will do is look at the 200 periods moving average. And I get the major trend. And as we see here, the major trend is downwards for Euro. So
Right.
unless we have the 200 days moving average turning upwards, the slope to become positive,
Yeah,
I
it's
have
flattening now.
I have to
What
sell every reaction and just play the bear market. As I
Okay,
do.
how would you characterize it now? It seems to be flattening out a little bit.
To tell you the truth, no,
The
because
200-day.
uh, it is starting. It is starting,
Yeah,
but I
okay,
need
well,
to see
that's what I'm
price
talking
move
about.
above. We had this failure here, if you
Yeah.
see, at back at
Yeah,
June.
this time it will. I'm telling you, this time it will get through.
One thing
I
that
mean, you're confident about your calls, right? I mean, you tell
let
people
me
like
finish.
it's a fact.
I have tested end alone and in the back we have two quants that we were told to program everything that the traders were thinking about. And one thing that I have learned is that you cannot predict the market. You can just only follow the market. At least me. I don't know if you have a crystal ball and you can predict the swings and the turns. Good for you.
You
Or
seem
for
to be
anyone.
doing that in our daily chat. So why are you saying that you don't predict when you make
Okay,
all
I
kinds
mean,
of statements about what markets are going to do before they do it? It doesn't add up
okay,
to me.
of course, you have a bias. Okay, as a trader, you
Okay.
must have a bias
Yeah.
and a view.
Well, you state
Okay.
your biases like it's a fact, so you have a lot of confidence in what you think is going to happen.
Okay, I trade almost 20
All right.
years, so
All right. See,
anyway, let's go
you're
back
not.
to the
Yeah,
euro.
good. All right, go ahead.
I,
Host the interview.
I am expecting a reaction higher to test again the 200-day moving average.
Okay.
And also this coincides with this trend line that it's
Are you
coming
long
back.
now?
Yes, I am long and I'm buying this.
Where are you wrong?
Where I am wrong.
Why do you have to repeat the question? Where are you wrong?
Where
You're
I'm long.
long.
I
Where?
didn't
What's
hear
your
you.
risk? What's your risk?
What's my risk? Okay, let's go back to the 4-hour chart to see the levels.
Where's your stop? Because you know I'm
Uh,
Forex stop hunter. I'm gonna go for it.
the stops
Yeah.
would be below this level, 110.70, because I see this strong resistance.
Well, you
This
said the
strong support,
stops
sorry.
would be. Are they? Do you place stops?
Actually,
the
in my
market?
trading, I rarely place stop orders, only if I have to leave the screens, because I'm almost
Why?
all day on the screen, so I close
Yeah.
manually the positions. But if I
Oh.
have to leave the screens, I must
Okay.
place some stops. And
Okay, why?
Why? Because market must be your trades must be stopped at a certain point.
But why not just put the order in whether you're there or not? Why not?
Because we see these wicks you see here.
Oh, so you're
Especially-
afraid of stop hunts. So
Yes,
how-
afraid. Okay.
okay, well, I'm not saying afraid. You know
I
they
prefer to
happen.
see. I prefer to see a closing candle before I place the stop. So I prefer to lose 10, 15, 20 pips and be certain, rather than close the position and see it reverse higher 20, 30 pips.
Well,
Because
how
at
do you
least
know when it's happening?
if I see the closing below
Have you
this
ever thought?
level,
Okay, so you wait for the candle to close under your
yes, at
stop
least
loss.
1 hour candle.
And what if it turns into a huge candle to the downside and you're waiting for it to close? What do you do?
Okay, usually for this to happen, we must have some major news.
Well, I'm not saying what makes it happen. It does happen. And I don't care what the reason is. So if you're using a mental stop because you're in front of the screen and you're going to wait for a candle to close, how do you manage risk if the candle ends up being 100 pips, 120 pips to the downside without your
Okay.
stopping in there?
I have to bear with this risk.
Okay. So anyway, it reminds me of the last time I used a mental stop. My first stop was a mental institution.
Okay.
Anyway, you know, because you know, I a lot of times I don't have them in either. Okay. In fact, I look for stop hunts, but there are times where I would, most of the time, I would have been better off having the stop in there instead of getting queued, because then I have a tendency to fight it. And the loss that would have been a smaller loss for me turns into a much larger, less manageable loss. Have you
Okay,
experienced that?
this
That
is
ever happened to
true.
you?
Yes, it has happened many times.
Okay,
But
there we go.
if I have some, let's say, strong convictions that market is gonna turn, I feel safer a bit. For example, here in euro dollar, okay, we don't have anything fundamentally strong for dollar to continue to appreciate versus dollar versus euro. Sorry.
Okay.
And for example, this is the major level that I was looking about to add to my longs.
Mhm.
I'm lightly long. I started to add to longs just above 111.20. This I was playing this support, this candle.
Okay.
I like the wicks, as you can see.
Yes.
For example, they show me the support levels and the selling, the resistant areas, the wicks, because buyers and sellers appear on those levels.
What's the longest term time frame you pay attention to?
I start, as I said before, with a weekly and daily chart to have.
Okay, what's
the
your
main-
weekly look like in euro? Do you have a long-term view on this?
Yes, it is going downwards. but I'm expecting a reaction to test this height, at least to make another lower high, because as you see, we have this pattern.
Yeah, nice
Uh,
look.
One,
I
two.
really like your chart work.
It's mostly price action.
Yeah.
Has nothing else to. Okay, besides those fancy.
It's
Right.
no, it's clear. You give nice clean views of formations.
Yes, it is the
it doesn't
way
have to be
that I have
complicated.
learned to trade all those years in the bank, because we were trading bonds, and in bonds and FX,
Yeah.
the prevailing trend
And
keeps going on for long times.
in fact, I'm glad I asked you to put it up because it gives me a different view. Because my target, if euro turns up, is your first red arrow, because that's the top of one wedge that I'm using. But you show a wedge going back to September. And if this is a falling wedge, that means it has potential to retrace 100%. That would be a 118 euro.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Wow.
I believe
Okay.
I believe long term that we're gonna have another swing lower in
Lower
euro
first
dollar.
before we break out.
Yes, and I believe that we're gonna break out for the all obvious reasons regarding the dollar.
Yeah.
I'm also very surprised that we have this conundrum: USD so strong and S&P so strong. This and also we had also the American the Treasury bonds so strong. This is not correct. It's a conundrum because you cannot have strong equities, U.S. equities, and strong dollar. It is something like we
Well,
have
maybe
now.
this is a window. I mean, the window that the market can thrive on until the next dollar rally. A weak dollar would be more positive for the market, don't you think? Or would
Exactly,
it be
because
negative?
I don't believe
reflates.
that we are gonna have a big correction in S&P. And big, I mean 15-20% that some of the analysts are expecting. At least as long as Trump is on charge, I don't believe we are gonna have a crash in the U.S. stock markets.
Okay.
So
Are you like I know some people that are looking for 4,200 S&Ps before it's over.
4,200. Okay, I don't know. As I said before, I don't like to predict,
Yeah, I
just to
know.
follow.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
And
Well,
I have
you
seen
know what?
many things in the markets,
Mhm.
so everything it's possible for me.
Well, like it or not, you are now my trading warrior brother. You held up well under my fire today. Really nice to meet another pro, Gregorios.
Okay, it is my honor, and I'm happy here.
We're glad. Are you a subscriber to Forex Analytics?
No.
Why?
Because to tell you the truth, I am all day, all my life is market, so I do my
Okay.
own analysis. So to tell you the
So
truth,
then here's my follow-up question. Why do you come to Face?
okay, if you are all the time, for now I work in my own office, so I am all the day in front of the screens. You have to do something to pass your time, and I also find it very informative because I see some other reviews from you guys. You do your own analysis, you have your own style, and also sometimes I get to see some trading ideas that I could have missed because I just look at the major charts in FX. And actually, last time I saw a nice idea from Blake regarding Aoud JPY.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it
So
was
you've garnered some trading ideas that have been profitable for you.
yes,
from here.
or at least to see a setup
Okay.
that I have missed.
So it has value to you.
Yes, it has, of course.
Okay. Well, when you drive in Greece, do you drive on one-way streets or two-way streets?
Depends where I want to go.
Okay. Well, don't you think that when somebody is providing a service for you, the way, and it's helping you, that you should consider saying thank you by becoming a subscriber?
Yes.
I mean, you're a big trader. What's $100 a month, right?
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I have my own subscribe service, so it's a
Oh,
bit.
oh, you have you have a Signal service?
Yes, but for crypto
Mm-hmm.
mostly.
Okay.
I'm mostly
And if
focused on
some
crypto.
and do you provide a free service to your crypto traders like Face?
Not
You
in this
don't.
way that you have this,
All
so
right. So here's
organized. I
my
mean,
lesson to you. You may be a great trader and make millions of dollars, but if you're only a taker, you will not be able to receive.
I
You'll
have
also have to
my
give.
Twitter. I also have my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I
Anyway,
upload their analysis. So
it was nice meeting you. Thank you for letting me ventilate on the fact that a lot of people are, just take advantage of things for free. I don't think it creates good karma in anyone's life unless they're reciprocal with people that help them. I rest my case.
okay, thank you, Dale.
All right, Gregorios. I'm sure we'll have another volunteer to do this the next time I ask. Anyway,
Whenever you want.
hey, listen, become
Tell
a
me.
member. You could hang out in our private members chat, so you could thank Blake personally for good ideas. What do you think?
Okay, why not?
All right. Okay. Thank you for becoming part of our family, and not just
You are
some
welcome.
immigrant coming into Face for free meals. Okay.
Okay, okay.
All right,
Thank you.
buddy. Thanks for putting up with me. And I could tell you're a great trader and you'd be a great addition to members chat. So, you give and you take, and you'll get great ideas in there, and you have great ideas. So let's just think about maybe reciprocating. And the only reason I could say this is because, I understand. Okay. I always used to try and get the best deal and everything else. But let me tell you, money comes and goes. Time is gone forever. Make it count. And when it's all said and done, you're not going to be thinking about your best trades or your best trading years. You're going to be thinking about the people that you had relationships with. And it's got to be a two-way street to have a good relationship.
Okay, Dale. Can I share
Okay.
my Twitter account because I see some people are asking about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just write the handle. They can find me there. Okay, thank you all.
All right, and
we
I'm going to
can,
put this. I'm going to. How do you want me to label this interview? Do you have a
we
do you have
can
a
we can
tagline for
reschedule
me?
it if you want at a later time to be a little bit more organized to show you 2-3 charts
Okay.
because
Okay.
now it was just out of the blue.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? We'll do that. So you follow me on Twitter. Send me a
I do.
DM, and
I
I'll
do
set
follow
up
you.
a date
Yes.
for you.
Okay. Okay.
And tomorrow, when you come in here tomorrow, let me know if you subscribed or not. Okay.
Okay, I will.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Gregorius. Everyone, I hope you have a good turnaround Tuesday. The stock indices are, let me just show you. We didn't quite get to that line. Yen still pretty stiff, but I think rates may come off. And yeah, let me take it. Let's see. Here, I'll show it to you guys. There's only 80 left anyway. Okay. So NASDAQ did not get to this line. If it does now, look out. Oil's still holding up. I'm not ready to fade it yet. I'll still wait for this number. Yen finally starting to fade a little bit. If we get some risk off, not a crash, just a scalp, okay? Maybe into Thanksgiving, the Bears feast on Thanksgiving, and then we'll blow off again into the end of the year. What else is going on? TLT about to make new lows. So, you know, no flight to quality. Let's see what happens if S&Ps come off. If there's any flight to quality, this looks like a C and we're going to go down to 132. That should be supportive. I thought we might get one more rally up here. And that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you, Gregorios, everybody else. And I'm going to end the meeting. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And I'll tell you something, Gregorios is tough. That was not easy. I'm glad I wasn't him today. And now I'm going to have to repent for being how I was. All right. See you guys later. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Adios.